Do you guys like classic comic books like these? The X-Men, Silver Surfer, Iron Man, Classic Hulk, old school action comics, classic Amazing Spider-Man, and Detective Comics? Then welcome to Comic Book Corner Classic with your host, Spider Slayer. Hey guys, Spider Slayer here, and welcome to Comic Book Corner Classic. That's right, guys. Welcome to the first official review / walkthrough of Comic Book Corner Classic, where we will be doing all kinds of classic comic book reviews and collectibles and all kinds of great stuff. But today we are doing our first review / walkthrough with issue number 1 of the Savage She-Hulk. That's right, guys. This book, I chose this book to be the first review because I really like this book. It was fun. I wanted to do something different besides, your everyday classic characters that we all know. Savage She-Hulk is just one of those books where the character has evolved so much over the years. We kind of know Jen Walters as this, or we also know her as this, more sexy looking. But when you go back to it, in 1980 when this book was made, she looks like this, more like the 50-foot tall woman or classic style. You see in her human form or whatever, she has short hair, and then when she changes to She-Hulk, she gets long hair, which is so funny. It's just a great comic. Again, Savage She-Hulk, issue number 1. It was released in February of 1980, so it still had this classic 70s cheesy dialogue, Starsky and Hutch, if you guys know what that show is, kind of feel to it. Stan Lee was obviously kind of like the creator behind this, and he also wrote it, which was really cool. If you are looking for a CGC graded or what this comic is worth, at this day and age, it's not worth that much because there's been so many different volumes of the series. But if you're looking for CGC graded, it's in mint condition, you probably get it for like it's $12, so it's not worth that much. But great issue. So with that being said, we're gonna jump into the story here with Savage She-Hulk. That's right, issue number 1. And this book is great. You got Dr. Bruce Banner is just hiding out, and he has no place to go to hide himself from people that have been looking for him, and he's trying to hide his identity. So basically what happens is he goes and he's like, oh, well, I gotta have no choice, but I have one place I can go with, and that's Jen. And he's like, she's my last hope. And Jen Walters is a lawyer, and she does criminal law. And in this page, you can see they're almost like lovers here, like strange cousin stuff that you don't always want to see. But they're real close, and she calls him Doc. And they were like brother and sister when they were younger. The cool thing about this issue, though, is if you never read Hulk, it gives you a nice description of how Bruce Banner became the Incredible Hulk and how the Gamma Bomb went off. And we can see here that this is what happens. He gets blown up by the gamma ray, and then all of a sudden he becomes the Incredible Hulk. Very cool that they went back on here. And she's like, oh my God, I can't believe, Jen's like, you're the Hulk, I can't believe it. But Bruce is just like, you know what, enough about you, Jen. What do? You're this big lawyer. And you can see that they're discussing going into the car. But of course, as soon as they're discussing, her plans with this crazy case with these people, these bad guys. They're like watching Bruce and her in the car, and they're staking out, and they're driving in the car, and the car is following her. And just as this instance that she's telling the story that she can't prove this murder, we get the bad guys coming after her, and then all of a sudden they do a drive-by as she's getting out of the car, and bam, and she gets shot. And Bruce Banner's like, Jen, no! And you can see the bad guy, he's like, I gotta finish her off. But out of all the best and coolest weapons that Bruce Banner gets, he uses a hose to splash the person in the eye so he can't recover and he can't shoot Jen. So he takes Jen into the house, and Bruce takes her undercover. And the funny thing is they take off, and you know he's keeping control. Bruce is keeping control so he doesn't turn into the Incredible Hulk. And then the next thing we see is that he realizes that she needs a blood transfusion because she's losing too much blood. And then what he has to do is he has to give her his own blood, and they have the same blood type. So he does the blood fusion himself, and she's all of a sudden stabilizes within minutes later, and she's like, Doc. And what happens is Bruce Banner calls the police, and then what happens is the police come, and they actually take him away, and he actually goes to jail. And he's definitely a suspect. And all of a sudden, Bruce realizes that he can't stay here because he's got his secret that he has to keep. And all of a sudden, you see him Hulk out over here, and he's like, I can't stay. And the police come, and they hear this big, hole. I mean, seriously, don't you think they would get the kind of the picture? This guy was in here. No normal human being can sit here and punch a hole like that through a wall. Maybe that could be the Hulk, huh? Well, I guess we never thought of that. So anyway, the next day, as Bruce Banner reads, he goes to the next day, and he reads everything, and he's reading the paper. And God, he must have a lot of these same outfits with the purple pants and white shirt. Thought that was pretty funny. But he takes care. He's staying at a hotel, and he leaves, and he's basically out of the picture now. It's just to get the series started. So here we see that Jen is basically recovering in the hospital, and she's like, oh, I feel funny, all tingly and everything. And as the issue goes along, we see that the bad guys that are trying to capture her are basically back at the hospital, pretending that they're orderlies and doctors and everything else, and they get this chloroform, and you can see that they're coming through right here, and they try suffocating her and killing her that way. And all of a sudden, we see the transformation take place, and people go flying. They're like, "Whoa, no!" And then here we go, right here, is they're like, "What the hell?" And for the first time, you witness the savage She-Hulk, and you can see like her clothes are all ripped off. She's like some Amazon chick. She's got like long green hair, and she's like really ugly. I mean, really ugly. Not like this, I mean, again, she has totally changed over the years. Just crazy how they use sex to sell these comic books these days. But she changes, and basically what happens throughout the rest of the issue, she's going down, and you can see the raw strength and power that she has. But she's smart. She has a smart brain. She's not dumb like the Hulk. She tosses things around. She's all angry, pissed off, tries to stop all these guys. And then as the issue comes along, you can see she's destroying the elevator. She's just breaking through. She's just taking care of business over here. And just a lot of action goes on in this issue. And she continues to beat up on these bad guys. She rips apart signs. And later on, as the bad guys are taken into custody by the police, she starts to calm down, get composure, and she starts changing back into Jen Walters. And we can see here that she's changing back. Her hair's getting back to normal. She's still a little green. And she's just like, I'll just go in the other room and lie down. My other room was destroyed. And the nurse is just like, oh my God, that beast was just horrible. Are you okay, Miss Walters? And she's like, well, thank God that's all over. And then she thinks to herself, Well, no, it's just the beginning. I must have gotten that. I must have changed into her through the blood fusion from Doc, and that's basically how the issue ends. And then issue 2 comes Death Race. Nuff said, as the classic Stan Lee always says. And that is the end of issue number 1 of the Savage She-Hulk. So, guys, the walkthrough was fun. The review of this book is, like I said, it's a 70s like cult classic. You gotta be a following. Starsky and Hutch really shows its age here with, the clothes and the way she was drawn, just going after like those crazy movies. I mean, you can like those old classic movies, and you can see how much taller she is compared to her own self. Just the dialogue and everything about the book. But it's a fun read. It's a classic. I give it probably about a 4 out of 5. I could have maybe not done so much with the cheesiness, but you can't kind of help that in that day and age. I mean, this comic was made in 1980, so it's it's like 32 years old, this book. So great stuff, guys. So hopefully you enjoyed this walkthrough and / review of the Savage She-Hulk. So that concludes the first review / walkthrough of Comic Book Corner Classic. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. So until the next comic book review, this is Comic Book Corner Classic and Spider Slayer signing off. Thanks for watching, guys. Take care. Bye.